Commander Taesung stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Promise, watching the stars drift past the viewport. He had been traveling between worlds for 15 years, helping different species solve their problems. Today felt different. The emergency call from the Galactic Council came without warning, and that made him nervous. "Commander, we're approaching the Council Station," said Captain Dongwu from his position at the tactical console. Dongwu was Taesung's oldest friend, a man who rarely smiled but always spoke the truth. Taesung nodded. "Any word from Ambassador Sunmi?" "She's already inside the council chambers. She sounds worried." Dr. Ji-won walked onto the bridge carrying her datapad. She was the ship's expert on alien species and cultures. "I've been reviewing the council's message again. Something doesn't add up. They've never called an emergency session for humanity before. Maybe they finally want to thank us for all the peacekeeping work," Taesung said, with a slight smile. He didn't believe it, but he wanted to stay positive. Ji-won shook her head. "In 200 years, humans have stopped 63 wars, built trade routes for 40 systems, and asked for nothing in return. If they wanted to thank us, they would have done it by now." The ship docked at the massive council station. It was a structure larger than Earth's moon, home to over 800 different alien species. Taesung, Dongwu, and Ji-won walked through the corridors toward the main chamber. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved past them. Some had scales, others had fur. Some walked on legs, others floated in the air. None of them made eye contact with the humans. "They're avoiding us," Dongwu whispered. "I noticed," Taesung replied quietly. They entered the council chamber. It was a massive circular room with seats rising up on all sides. In the center stood Ambassador Sunmi, alone. She was a small woman, but she had represented Earth for 20 years with dignity and strength. Today, she looked tired. 847 alien species sat in their seats, all watching the humans with cold eyes. The council speaker rose from his position. He was a Velkari, a creature that looked like a giant insect with sharp mandibles and 4 arms. His name was unpronounceable to humans, so everyone called him the speaker. "Humans of Earth," the speaker began, his voice translated through machines into every language. "We have called you here to address a grave matter. Evidence has been brought before this council that proves humanity is building weapons of mass destruction in secret." Taesung felt his heart sink. "That's impossible," he said loudly. "We've shared all our technology with the council. Our worlds are open to inspection." A crystalline being floated forward. It was part of the Moths Collective, creatures made of living crystal that communicated through light. "We have sensor data showing massive energy signatures from your outer colonies. These match the profile of forbidden weapons." Sunmi stepped forward. "Then let us show you the truth. We have nothing to hide. Send your inspectors to any human world. Look at our files. We welcome complete transparency." "Transparency means nothing when it comes too late," the speaker said. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been satisfaction. "This council has already reviewed the evidence. We vote now on Resolution 847, the immediate quarantine of all human territories and the seizure of human technology until this matter is resolved." "You can't vote without giving us time to defend ourselves," Sunmi's voice echoed in the chamber. "The vote is called," the speaker announced. One by one, the lights above each species began to glow. Green for yes, red for no. Taesung watched in horror as green light after green light filled the chamber. Species that humans had helped, species that owed their peace to human mediators, all voted yes. The final count appeared. 847 species voted for quarantine. Only one voted against, humanity itself. "This is wrong," Ji-won said, her voice shaking. "We've done nothing but help you. All of you." The speaker ignored her. "Effective immediately, all human ships are forbidden from using council trade routes. All human colonies are isolated. Any human vessel that resists will be destroyed. This session is concluded." The aliens began filing out of the chamber. Not one of them looked at the humans. They had made their decision, and they didn't want to see the faces of those they had betrayed. Sunmi stood frozen in the center of the chamber. Taesung walked down to her. Ambassador, we need to leave. Now. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. 200 years. We gave them 200 years of peace, and they do this. It's a trap, Dongwu said flatly. This was planned, coordinated. They want something from us, and they're taking it by force. They returned to the Horizon's Promise. The ship barely made it out of the station before Valkyrie warships appeared, blocking the exit routes. Tae-sung had to use emergency protocols to jump away. Back on the bridge, they received reports from across human space. The news was bad. Council ships had already surrounded Earth and all 47 human colonies. No ships could enter or leave. Trade had stopped completely. Humanity was cut off from the galaxy they had helped build. This will starve our outer colonies, Ji-won said, reviewing the data. Without trade, they'll run out of essential supplies in months. The council knows that, Sunmi said. She had stopped crying. Now her face was hard as stone. They want us desperate, weak. A priority message came through. It was from New Jeju, one of the farming colonies. Tae-sung opened it. The face of Colonel Hyun-sik appeared on screen. He was the defense commander of New Jeju, a man who had retired from Earth's military to live a quiet life farming. Commander Tae-sung, we have a situation. A Valkyrie fleet just entered our system. They're demanding we surrender weapons we don't have. I've opened our entire database to prove we have nothing but farms, but they're not listening. They're powering up weapons. Sir, what do we do? Before Tae-sung could answer, the transmission filled with light. Explosions, screaming. The image cut out. The bridge fell silent. Get me a connection to Earth, Sunmi said quietly. Tell them to initiate Protocol Midnight. Ji-won turned pale. Ambassador, that's... I know what it is, Sunmi interrupted. They broke the treaty. They broke the peace. They broke faith with humanity. Now they'll learn why our ancestors created that protocol. Tae-sung looked at the screen where Hyun-sik's face had been moments before. What's Protocol Midnight? Sunmi met his eyes. It's what we do when the galaxy forgets the oldest rule. Never betray humanity. Far away, in the cold darkness beyond Earth's solar system, ancient machines began to wake up. They had been waiting for 200 years. Now their time had come. Engineer Yuna was checking the water filtration systems when the alarms began. She dropped her tools and ran to the nearest window. In the sky above New Jeju, she saw them. 20 Valkyrie warships, their hulls dark and insect-like, hanging in orbit like predators waiting to strike. This is Colonel Hyun-sik, the colony-wide speakers crackled to life. All citizens, move to the emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Yuna ran toward the communications center instead of the shelters. She was an engineer, and she knew the colony's systems better than anyone. If something was going to happen, the galaxy needed to see it. The streets filled with people. Mothers carried children. Old farmers who had lived on New Jeju for 50 years moved as fast as their legs could carry them. Everyone knew something terrible was coming. In the command center, Colonel Hyun-sik sat at his console. He was 70 years old, gray-haired and calm. He had fought in Earth's defense forces before retiring to this peaceful farming world. Now war had found him again. Open a channel to the Valkyrie fleet, he ordered. The face of a Valkyrie commander appeared on screen. His mandibles clicked with what sounded like amusement. Human colony, you have illegal weapons. Surrender them now. We have no weapons here, Hyun-sik said firmly. This is a farming colony. 2 million people grow food here, that's all. I'm opening our entire database to you right now. See for yourself. His fingers moved across the console. Every file, every record, every piece of data that New Jeju had, all of it was transmitted to the Valkyrie ships. It showed exactly what Hyun-sik said. Farms, water systems, schools, hospitals, no weapons, no military installations, nothing but peaceful life. The Valkyrie commander looked at the data. His mandibles clicked faster. Your cooperation is noted. Then the first beam of energy hit the southern farmlands. The explosion was visible from space. Hyun-sik jumped to his feet. What are you doing? We gave you everything. There are no weapons here. We know, the Valkyrie commander said. His voice was cold. "This is not about weapons. This is about teaching humanity its place." The sky turned red as 20 warships opened fire. Yuna reached the communications center as the building shook. Dr. Sang-woo was already there, his medical coat covered in dust. "We need to evacuate," he shouted over the noise of explosions. "Not yet," Yuna said. She sat at the console and started activating every transmission system New Jeju had. "The galaxy needs to see this." Her fingers flew across the controls. She patched into the Galactic Broadcast Network, the same network the Council used for official announcements. She hijacked the signal and pointed every camera in the communications center toward the windows. "This is New Jeju Colony," she said into the microphone. "We are being attacked by Velkari forces. We have no weapons. We surrendered all our data. They are killing us anyway. Let the galaxy see what the Council really wants." Outside, the bombardment continued. Orbital strikes hit farms, destroying crops that fed 20 systems. They hit residential areas where families lived. They hit schools where children learned. In the shelters below ground, people huddled together. The ceiling shook with each impact. Parents held their children close. Dr. Sang-woo had made it to one of the shelters and was trying to organize medical care, but there were too many injured and not enough supplies. "Why are they doing this?" a young girl asked her mother. The mother had no answer. She just held her daughter tighter. Hyun-sik stayed at his post in the command center, even as the building crumbled around him. He transmitted one final message to any human ship that could hear. "This is New Jeju. We are lost. Tell Earth. Tell them we did nothing wrong. Tell them this was murder." The command center took a direct hit. The transmission cut off. Yuna kept broadcasting. The cameras showed everything: buildings collapsing, people running through streets as fire rained from the sky, the beautiful farmlands of New Jeju turning into a burning wasteland. 2 million people live here," she said into the microphone, her voice steady even as tears ran down her face. "We grow food. We harm no one. The Council said we had weapons. But we proved we didn't. They're killing us anyway. Remember this. Remember what they did to us." A Velkari fighter ship spotted the communications center. It fired. The building exploded. But Yuna's transmission had already gone out. Across the galaxy, on 847 different worlds, people watched. They saw the truth. The Council had lied. The Velkari had murdered innocents. Some aliens turned away in shame. Some justified it as necessary. But they all saw it. On Earth, in the Military Command Center, Fleet Admiral Jin Ho watched the transmission with a face like carved stone. Around him, officers wept or shouted in rage. Jin Ho said nothing. He simply pressed a button on his console. Deep in space, lights began to turn on, thousands of them. The bombardment of New Jeju lasted for 6 hours. When it was over, 90% of the colony was destroyed. 2 million people had lived there. Only 180,000 survived, trapped in the deep shelters that the bombs couldn't reach. The Velkari ships left without sending ground troops. They hadn't come to conquer. They had come to destroy. In the underground shelters, Dr. Sang-woo moved from person to person, doing what he could with limited supplies. Burns, broken bones, shock. So much shock. People sat staring at nothing, unable to understand why this had happened to them. "Doctor," a young man said, "what do we do now?" Sang-woo had no answer. New Jeju was gone. Their homes, their farms, their entire lives had been burned away. The Council had cut them off from the rest of humanity. They were alone. But they weren't alone for long. On the horizon's promise, Commander Tai-sung watched the transmission from New Jeju. He watched every second of it. He watched his people die for no reason. He watched Hyun-sik's final message. He watched the moment the communications center exploded, hoping that Yuna had made it out. Dr. Ji-won sat at her console, her hands shaking. 2 million people, she whispered. They killed 2 million people. Not yet, Captain Dongwoo said. His voice was different now, harder, colder. 180,000 are still alive in the shelters. Ambassador Sunmi stood behind them. The council is broadcasting that it was a necessary security measure. They're calling it a success. Tae-sung turned to face her. His eyes were red, but no tears fell. You activated Protocol Midnight? Yes, Sunmi said. Earth has given the order. The sleeper fleet is waking up. How long? Tae-sung asked. 72 hours until the fleet is fully operational, but we have fast response teams ready now. Tae-sung looked at his crew. Set course for New Jeju. Maximum speed. Commander, Dongwoo said carefully. We're one ship. The Velkari fleet is still there. I don't care, Tae-sung said. Our people are dying in those shelters. We're getting them out. Ji-won stood up. I'm with you. Dongwoo smiled for the first time in days. It was not a kind smile. So am I. The Horizon's promise turned toward New Jeju. Behind it, hidden in the darkness of space, 10,000 warships began their journey toward the light. The room was hidden 3 kilometers below Earth's surface. It had been built 200 years ago, when humanity first made contact with alien species. The people who built it hoped it would never be used. They were wrong. Fleet Admiral Jin-ho walked into the command center. He was 80 years old, but he stood straight and tall. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, praying it would never come. Now it was here. Status report, he said to the officers around him. Protocol Midnight is active, Specialist Bora replied. She was young, barely 30, but she was the best AI warfare expert humanity had. The sleeper fleet is waking up. All systems are coming online. How many ships? Jin-ho asked, though he already knew the answer. 10,000 warships, sir. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and dreadnoughts. Every single one equipped with technology we never shared with the Council. Jin-ho nodded slowly. For 2 centuries, humanity had been the peaceful species. The ones who mediated conflicts, who built bridges between worlds, who asked for nothing in return. But humanity's leaders were not fools. They remembered Earth's history. They knew what happened to peaceful people when others decided to betray them. So they had built the sleeper fleet. In secret. Using resources from asteroids and distant moons where no one was watching. Each ship was equipped with weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart matter itself. Dimensional shields that made ships nearly impossible to hit. Causality weapons that could strike a target before the trigger was pulled. Where are the ships hidden? General Youngjae asked. He commanded the Titan Defense Corps, humanity's elite ground forces. Everywhere, Bo-Ra said, pulling up a map of human space. In the Kuiper Belt beyond Earth, in the Oort Cloud, hidden in asteroid fields. Some are even cloaked inside gas giants. We've been building them for 200 years, moving them into position slowly so no one would notice. And the Council never suspected? Youngjae seemed amazed. Jin-ho smiled grimly. We were very careful. We showed them what they wanted to see. Peaceful humans, happy to trade and talk. Meanwhile, we prepared for the day they would show their true nature. A message came through from the Horizon's promise. Commander Tae-sung appeared on screen. Admiral Jin-ho, we're approaching New Jeju. The Velkari fleet is still in orbit. I'm going in to rescue the survivors. Tae-sung, you have 1 ship against 20, Jin-ho said. Wait for support. Our people are dying in those shelters, sir. Every hour we wait, more of them die from injuries or lack of supplies. I'm not waiting. Jin-ho looked at the young commander for a long moment. Then he nodded. Understood. Help is on the way. Just stay alive long enough to see it. The transmission ended. Jin-ho turned to Bo-Ra. Send Rapid Response Group 7 to New Jeju. Tell them to arrive loud. Bo-Ra grinned. Yes, sir. Across human space, the transformation was beginning. Ships that had pretended to be mining vessels suddenly unfolded into warships. Space stations that looked like research platforms activated weapon systems. Even some of the cargo ships that had been trading with alien species for decades revealed their true nature. They were spy ships, collecting data on every species humanity met. Dr. Ji-won had been part of that effort. On the Horizon's promise, she opened her personal files. 200 years of data. every species humanity had encountered. Their biology, their technology, their weaknesses. I've been cataloging everything, she told Tae-sung as they approached New Jeju. Every conversation, every medical scan, every piece of technology we were shown. I know how to defeat all of them. You've been a spy this whole time? Dong-woo asked. We've all been spies, Ji-won said. Every human diplomat, every scientist, every traitor. We were told on our first day, be friendly, be helpful, be kind. But remember everything, write it all down, because one day they might turn on us. And now they have, Tae-sung said quietly. The Horizon's promise dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the new Jeju system. The Valkyrie ships immediately detected them. One human ship, the Valkyrie commander transmitted. You are ordered to leave immediately or be destroyed. We're here for our people, Tae-sung responded. Let us evacuate the survivors, and we'll leave peacefully. The Valkyrie commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. There is no peace anymore. You are quarantined. Your colony attacked us first. These are the consequences. They attacked you? Dong-woo said in disbelief. We saw the transmission. You murdered them in cold blood. That is the official council statement, the Valkyrie said. Who will the galaxy believe? The council or a handful of humans? Tae-sung looked at his crew. Prepare for combat. Sir, we can't win, Dong-woo said. 20 ships against 1. We don't need to win, Tae-sung said. We just need to survive. The Valkyrie ships moved to attack positions, their weapons powered up. The Horizon's promise was a diplomatic vessel, not a warship. This was going to be very short and very violent. Then space tore open. 50 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were massive, dark, and covered in weapons that the Valkyrie had never seen before. This is Rapid Response Group 7, a voice transmitted. Commander Tae-sung, we're here to help. The Valkyrie commander stared at his sensors in shock. Where had these ships come from? How had humanity hidden a fleet like this? You have 10 seconds to leave this system, the human fleet commander said. Or we will remove you. The council will hear of this, the Valkyrie commander transmitted. You are starting a war you cannot win. We didn't start this war, the human commander replied. You did, when you murdered 2 million peaceful farmers. Now leave. 9 seconds. The Valkyrie ships ran. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled the system. The human fleet moved into position around New Jeju. Rescue ships dropped to the surface, reaching the shelters where survivors waited. Dr. Sang-woo was the first person they found. He was exhausted, covered in dust and blood, but alive. You came, he said in wonder. We thought we were abandoned. Never, the rescue team leader said. We're taking you home. 180,000 survivors were evacuated over the next 6 hours. They were taken to human medical ships where proper care waited. Many were injured. All were traumatized, but they were alive. Tae-sung walked through one of the rescue ships, looking at his people, children with blank eyes, adults who flinched at every sound, an entire generation scarred by what the council had done. Admiral Jin-ho is on the line, Dong-woo said. Tae-sung took the transmission. Jin-ho's face appeared, old and tired. The survivors are secure? Yes, sir, all of them. Good. Now comes the hard part. Jin-ho took a deep breath. I'm promoting you to Grand Admiral of the United Human Fleet. The Council has declared war on us, even if they don't want to admit it yet. You're going to lead the response. Sir, I'm a diplomat, not a warrior. That's exactly why you're perfect for this job, Jin-ho said. What we do next will define humanity for the next 1,000 years. We need someone who understands peace to wage this war. Someone who knows that victory without justice is just another kind of defeat. Tae-sung looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 847 alien species thought they had broken humanity. They thought humans would beg for mercy, would accept their place as inferiors. They were about to learn the oldest rule in the galaxy: never betray humanity. I accept the promotion, Tae-sung said. What are my orders? Jin-ho smiled. It was not a warm smile. Make them remember. Make them all remember. Grand Admiral Tae-sung stood before the main display screen of the human command ship, Resolution. Behind him, the entire sleeper fleet had assembled. 10,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of human engineering, each one holding weapons the galaxy had never imagined. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council," he ordered. The face of the Velkari speaker appeared. His mandibles twitched nervously. He had seen the reports of the human fleet. He was beginning to understand that humanity was not what the Council had believed. "Commander Tae-sung, the Council is willing to negotiate." "I am Grand Admiral Tae-sung now," Tae-sung interrupted. His voice was calm, but there was steel in it. "And I am not here to negotiate. I am here to deliver a message. You have 72 hours to surrender the leaders who ordered the attack on New Jeju. All of them. If you do not, we will come and take them ourselves." The speaker's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You cannot threaten the Council. We represent 847 species. You are just humans." "Just humans," Tae-sung repeated softly. "You've made a terrible mistake. For 200 years we were peaceful because we chose to be. You mistook our choice for weakness. Now you will learn the difference." He cut the transmission. "Sir," Captain Dongwu said from his station, "the Council is scrambling their fleets. They're calling in reinforcements from every member species." "Let them," Tae-sung said. "Dr. Ji-won, what do we know about the Velkari Empire?" Ji-won pulled up her data. "The Velkari Empire has 300 warships and 12 colony worlds. Their homeworld is called Velkros, population 42 billion. Their military relies on swarm tactics and numerical superiority. Their weakness is their communication network. They use organic neural links. Disrupt those, and their fleets fall apart." "And the Moths Collective?" "Crystalline beings living in orbital habitats. They have no traditional military, but their structures can generate powerful energy shields. Their weakness is temperature. They're vulnerable to rapid cooling. Drop them below 0 Celsius, and their crystalline structure becomes brittle." Tae-sung nodded. "Fleet commanders, you have your targets. Remember the rules. No civilian casualties. We are not them. We're here for justice, not revenge." The human fleet split into groups. The 72-hour deadline was not meant to give the Council time to surrender. It was meant to give human ships time to get into position. Group Alpha, led by General Young Jae, moved toward the Velkari homeworld. They arrived in orbit with 500 warships. The Velkari military activated immediately, sending 300 ships to defend their home. The battle lasted 34 minutes. Human quantum disruptors tore through Velkari's shields like they weren't there. Dimensional shields made the human ships flicker in and out of reality, impossible to target. Most importantly, Bo-Ra's cyber warfare teams hacked the Velkari neural network in the first 2 minutes of combat. The Velkari ships stopped coordinating. Each one fought alone, confused and isolated. The human ships disabled them one by one, using precise strikes to destroy weapons and engines while leaving life support intact. Not a single Velkari ship was destroyed. Not a single Velkari crew member died. But the entire Velkari military was floating dead in space, powerless and defeated. "This is General Young Jae of Velkros," he transmitted to the planet below. "Your military is defeated. We have surrounded your world. But look carefully. We have not fired a single shot at your cities. We have not harmed your civilians. We are here for your leaders. Send them up, or we will come down and get them." On Velkros, panic spread through the government. The Velkari people watched their mighty fleet defeated in half an hour. They saw human ships in orbit capable of destroying their world, but holding their fire. The Velkari chancellor tried to rally his people. "The humans are bluffing. They won't attack civilians." "You're right," Young Jae transmitted back. "We won't. But we will lock down your entire planet. No ship leaves. No ship arrives. No trade. No communication. Your world will be isolated until you give us what we want. We can wait. Can you?" The Velkari military commanders looked at their disabled ships. They looked at the human fleet above them. They made their choice. 12 hours later, the Velkari chancellor and every military leader who had ordered the attack on New Jeju were in human custody. The Velkari people had handed them over themselves. Meanwhile, Group Beta moved toward the Moths Collective. The crystalline beings lived in massive habitats that orbited their home star. Each habitat held billions of moths, their bodies glowing with inner light. "We will not surrender," the Moths' leadership transmitted. "Our shields are impenetrable. You cannot harm us." "We don't want to harm you," Commander of Group Beta transmitted back. "We want justice." The Moths activated their shields. They were right. The shields were incredibly powerful. Human weapons couldn't break through. But G1 had found their weakness. Human ships deployed thermal disruption fields. The temperature around the crystalline habitats began to drop. 0 Celsius, -10, -20. The moths' crystalline structures began to crack. Not enough to kill them, but enough to cause severe pain. Their habitats, once beautiful and bright, began to dim. "Stop!" the moth's leadership screamed. "What are you doing?" "Giving you a choice," the human commander said. "Surrender the leaders who voted to destroy New Jedju, or watch your entire species slowly freeze." The moths surrendered within an hour. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. 12 species that had supported the quarantine found their faster-than-light drives mysteriously offline. They were stuck in their home systems, exactly like they had done to humanity. 4 species that had provided ships for the attack on New Jeju found those ships disabled and their crews arrested. They were treated well, given food and medical care, then sent home with a message. "This is what humanity could have done to New Jeju, but we chose mercy. You chose murder." The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber that once held 847 species now had many empty seats. Representatives were too scared to attend. They had seen what happened to the Velkari. They had seen the moths freeze. Ambassador Sunmi walked into the council chamber. She was flanked by human soldiers, but she needed no protection. The council was too afraid to touch her. "For 200 years, she began, humanity asked for nothing but peace. We helped you resolve conflicts. We built trade routes. We shared our food, our medicine, our knowledge. We asked for nothing in return except to be treated fairly." The remaining council members said nothing. "You betrayed that trust," Sunmi continued. "You lied about weapons that didn't exist. You murdered 2 million innocent people. You thought we were weak. You were wrong." She placed a data chip on the central podium. "This contains evidence of a conspiracy. The Velkari and Moths planned this attack months ago. They wanted to seize human technology and territory. Other species knew and said nothing. This council is corrupt. It is broken. And as of this moment, humanity no longer recognizes its authority." "You cannot dissolve the council," the speaker protested. "We're not dissolving it," Sunmi said. "We're just leaving. And we're taking 342 species with us. Species that are tired of your lies. Species that want actual peace, not your version of it." It was true. In the chaos of humanity's response, dozens of smaller species had reached out in secret. They were tired of the council's corruption, tired of being bullied by stronger species. They wanted what humanity had promised 200 years ago: real cooperation, real peace. "We're forming a new federation," Sunmi announced. "One where no single species can declare war without unanimous consent. One where transparency is required, not optional. One where peace is real. You're welcome to join, but only if you accept the rules." She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the Galactic Council fell into chaos. The old Galactic Council station was empty now. Most species had left, either joining the new Federation or retreating to their home systems in fear and shame. Grand Admiral Tae-sung walked through the silent corridors, remembering the day he had come here and watched humanity get betrayed. That felt like a lifetime ago. It had only been 6 months. "The last of the council leadership has been processed," Captain Dongwoo reported. "The ones directly responsible for New Jeju are in custody. The others have been released with monitoring." "No executions?" Tae-sung asked. "No, sir. As you ordered. Justice, not revenge." Tae-sung nodded. It had been tempting. After seeing what happened to New Jeju, many humans wanted blood. But that wasn't who humanity was. They had punished the guilty. They had freed the innocent. They had shown the galaxy that humans could be fierce without being cruel. The new Federation had formed quickly. 342 species signed the charter in the first month. The document was simple. No wars without unanimous consent, complete transparency in all dealings, mutual defense against aggressors, and equal representation regardless of species size or power. They called it the Accord of Free Worlds. Ambassador Sunmi was elected as the first chancellor. She accepted reluctantly, saying she would serve for 5 years and no more. This is not about one person or one species leading, she had said at her inauguration. This is about all of us. Together. The Velkari Empire collapsed into civil war. The people, angry at their leaders for starting a war they couldn't win, overthrew the government. A new leadership emerged, one that immediately applied to join the accord. They were accepted after agreeing to extensive reforms. The Moths Collective isolated themselves for 3 months, ashamed of their role in the massacre. When they finally emerged, they offered to help rebuild New Jedju. "We cannot undo what was done," their leaders said. "But we can help create something new from the ashes." New Jeju was being rebuilt, not as it was before, that could never be recovered, but as something different, a memorial world. The names of all 2 million dead were carved into a massive monument at the center of the main settlement. And around it, new farms were growing. New families were coming to live and work. Yuna, the engineer who had broadcast the massacre to the galaxy, was alive. She had been badly injured when the communications center exploded, but the rescue teams found her in time. Now she worked on the reconstruction, helping build the new water systems for the colony. "Why did you come back?" someone asked her. "After what happened here?" "Because this is home," Yuna said simply. "They tried to destroy us, but we're still here. That matters." Dr. Sangwoo opened a new hospital on New Jeju. It was funded by donations from dozens of species, many of whom felt guilty for not stopping the massacre. The hospital was the most advanced in human space, and it was free to anyone who needed it. "It's what New Jeju would have wanted," Sangwoo said at the opening ceremony. "We were a place of life, of growth. Now we're that again?" The remnants of the old council tried to continue, but without humanity and the hundreds of species that left with them, it fell apart. Some species tried to maintain it out of pride, but within a year, even they gave up. The Galactic Council was dissolved. An empire that had ruled for 10,000 years ended by one act of betrayal. General Young Jae retired from military service and became the commander of the Peacekeeper Corps. It was a new organization, made up of human volunteers who traveled to worlds in need of protection. They stopped pirates, defended weak species from aggressors, and kept the peace. "We're doing what we always did," Young Jae explained to new recruits, "helping others. But now we do it with open eyes. We know the galaxy can be dangerous. We're ready for that." Dr. Ji-won created something she called the Cultural Safeguard. It was an artificial intelligence system that monitored communications across the Federation, looking for signs of conspiracy or plans to betray others. It was controversial. Many species feared it was too invasive. But Ji-won had built-in protections. "The AI only reports to a council made up of all member species," she explained. "No one species can use it as a weapon. It's not about controlling information. It's about preventing another New Jeju." The system worked. 3 times in the first year, it detected plots by extremist groups to attack other species. Each time, the Accord moved quickly to stop them. No massacres, no wars, just swift justice. The human sleeper fleet remained active, but most of it was put into reserve. Humanity kept a strong military presence, enough to ensure no one would forget what happened when they betrayed peace. But they used it sparingly, only when absolutely necessary. 50 years passed. Grand Admiral Tae Sung was an old man now. His hair was white, his face lined with age. He had retired from military service decades ago, but people still called him Admiral out of respect. He walked slowly now, with a cane, but his mind was still sharp. He returned to New Jeju for the anniversary. Every year, on the day of the massacre, survivors gathered at the memorial. It was not a sad day, not anymore. It was a day of remembrance, but also of hope. Look at what we survived. Look at what we built. Dr. Jiwan walked with him, equally old, equally tired. They had remained friends through the decades, sharing the burden of what they had done and seen. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked as they stood before the monument. Taesung looked at the names carved in stone. 2 million names, 2 million lives. "We did what was necessary, and we tried to be better than those who wronged us." Was it enough? It had to be. A young alien approached them. She was from a species that had been one of the first to join the Accord, a timid race that had been bullied by larger species for centuries. Now they thrived, protected by the Federation's rules. "Excuse me," the young alien said nervously. "Are you Grand Admiral Taesung?" "I am," Taesung said with a gentle smile. "I'm studying galactic history. I have to write a paper about the formation of the Accord. Can I ask you something?" "Of course." The young alien hesitated. "Why didn't humans conquer everyone? After you defeated the Council, you had the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. You could have ruled everything. Why didn't you?" Taesung was quiet for a long moment. It was a question he had been asked many times over the years. "Because we never wanted power," he finally said. "We wanted justice. There's a difference. Power is forcing others to obey you. Justice is making sure everyone is treated fairly. We could have conquered the galaxy, yes, but then we would have become exactly what we fought against." "But the Council feared you," the young alien said. "They still do. The stories say humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." "We can be," Jiwan said, "when we need to be, when someone threatens innocent people or breaks faith with us. But we don't want to be dangerous. We want to be trusted." The young alien nodded slowly. "So the most important rule is, never betray those who offer peace?" "Especially humanity," Taesung said. His voice was soft, but there was something ancient in it, something that made the young alien shiver slightly. "We remember everything. We forgive much. But we never, ever forget." The young alien thanked them and left. Taesung and Jiwan stood in silence, looking at the monument. "Do you think the galaxy has learned?" Jiwan asked. Taesung looked up at the sky where ships from hundreds of species traveled freely, trading and talking and living in peace. "Some have, some never will. But that's okay, as long as enough of them remember." "Remember what?" Taesung smiled. "That humanity kept its promise. We said we wanted peace and we meant it. But we also kept another promise, one we made to ourselves 200 years ago. Never again. Never again would we be the victims. Never again would we trust blindly. And never again would anyone who breaks faith with humanity escape the consequences." A new species was arriving in the Accord today, their first ship approaching the diplomatic station. They were nervous, as all new species were. The galaxy was a big place, and trust was hard. Their diplomat would meet with Chancellor Sunmi's successor. They would be welcomed. They would be treated fairly. They would be given every opportunity to thrive. And somewhere in their orientation materials, buried in the historical documents, they would find the story of New Jedju. They would read about what happened when the galaxy betrayed humanity. They would see what humans were capable of when pushed too far. They would learn the oldest rule: never betray humanity. And if they were wise, they would remember it.